This is Social Leopards. I'm Bea.
And I'm Beth. A leopard is a solitary creature living in the jungle, but often not seen or noticed. Are you a solitary creature trying to navigate the social jungle?
This show explores loneliness and the many ways forward. Welcome to Social Leopards.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Social Leopards. I am Beth.
And I'm Bea.
And today we are here with the lovely Diana Everheart, and she is the host of Divine and Disobedient. It is a podcast that explores life on your own terms. Some of her earlier episodes cover some themes like self-compassion and authenticity, and even conspiracy theories sometimes, right? So welcome.
Hi.
Hey, today we're going to focus in on a loneliness deep dive. But before we start, would you please share a little bit about your story, including what led you to podcasting?
Sure. I was one of those kids that loved personality quizzes. And every time my Cosmo would come in the mail, I would go in the back and do the quizzes and read my horoscope. And I was always trying to figure out who I am and what was wrong with me, and dealt with a lot of trauma my whole life. And I basically just took all of the therapy I'd been in over the years and all of the stuff, and I just said, forget it. I'm going to do it what works for me, and I'm going to just figure this out my way and be a rebel. And I started the podcast a couple of years ago, and then I nixed it because I was like not in a good spot. I had gotten out of a relationship that was very unhealthy, and I had PTSD, and that's not the time to start a podcast. So I deleted everything, and then I manifested on accident podcasting equipment literally to my front door that I never ordered. It was delivered to the wrong town. And I was like, oh, I guess I am supposed to do this. So I had put it on the back burner for a little bit. And then I decided to pick it back up and do audio only. And I met someone wonderful on Reddit who offered to produce my podcast. He's starting a company. So I'm helping him. He's helping me. And he's doing an amazing job. And it's just been growing from there. And I rebranded it because I didn't like the direction it was going at, because I really wanted to be more about me and my personality. And it's been super fun. And I'm hoping that I can help people, because I want to help people, because I feel like people are very lost right now. They're looking for answers and they're getting exploited and taken for granted. And it's pissing me off so much. So here I am.
I hear ya. And we feel very similarly.
Yeah.
The problems that people face, and so many just don't have the answers, and they're not even sure how to seek them. And it's people, just regular people out there in the universe. I can't believe some of the great commentary we've gotten over the months about just how one little conversation made some sort of a difference. And even if it's just one person at a time, that's all that it takes, right?
Yeah, and I think it's a fear of opening up, because we talk about this all the time, the judgment piece. You don't want people to judge you for maybe being different or having a problem. So I think that's also part of the problem, that's why people don't even seek out help or talk about it.
Yeah.
And there's a perfectionism component to it as well. I think relatability is so important. And I think when people hear someone tell a story and it's like, oh, I went through that too. And if you can say it in a different way, it can resonate. Like, I'll say the same thing 5 different times, 5 different ways, and it'll hit different people at different times. And they'll be like, oh, now I get it. And I feel like there's a big perfectionism. Like, we see people online and these people have these big followings. We're like, they're doing it, so surely they know how to do it. So I'm just going to listen to them. But they just know how to work an algorithm, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, you have to find that sweet spot for yourself. But you're right, it's different for everyone. And there's huge audiences that will relate to something individual that you might not relate to. So there's definitely room for more podcasts.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when we were doing the get to know you stage, I've of course listened to a couple of your episodes, and then we have this little kind of form that we ask people to fill out. And one of the questions is, what is your superpower? So you said that your superpower is the ability to see all perspectives. So how do you use that ability in regular daily life?
It's a blessing and a curse, because people don't want to hear different perspectives. What's so funny is a lot of times I'll just argue another perspective, and it's not even my personal opinion. I'll just be like, when I recently had this, it was this perspective of, I was talking with a friend about transgender, the whole issue with transgenderism. And I was just like, I can disagree with men and women's sports, for instance. And at the same time, I can have empathy for someone going through some sort of identity crisis, or we're all going through an identity crisis. Now, let's face it. If you're living right, you're going through crisis probably every 5-10 years, because that's generally like if you're growing. But for me, it ends up being more of a curse than a blessing in this world, because a lot of people don't want to have good quality conversation. And I love good quality conversation. And I don't care. I will argue anything to the death. I will disagree. I argue with myself. I disagree with myself on the daily. I'm like, Diana, and then I'm like, damn it, just stop. But it's like, it helps you to understand such a well-rounded view of, because everyone has this reality that they're living that's very personal. And I hate to say it, but it's really more of a curse than a blessing, because people want an echo chamber and they don't want to know that maybe I could agree with this thing that you're saying, but here's also another side that maybe you didn't think of. Maybe not my personal opinion. Most things I don't have a personal opinion on anyway. I just like to argue everything. People don't like that. And I think we should be more open to that, because I think that's the best way to really grow and develop that empathy muscle.
Yeah. So what do you mean by quality conversation? Do you mean asking deep questions, or what do you mean by that when you talk about
talk about anything? I love the surface level stuff, but after a while it can get boring. I like deep level conversation. I want to talk to people about, what are you creating right now, and how did you get here? Or what kind of breakdown did you have last year? Or do you think about life? Can we talk about something other than the housewives? So I don't care about any of that. If that's a surefire way to get me to leave. Like
They're
that
so
Monopoly,
interesting.
if you talk about Monopoly and you talk about the housewives, I'm out. I'm out of it.
No housewives talk here today. Promise.
No housewives. But
No.
I don't watch it, so I couldn't even contribute if I did. But I feel like I would be, if I watched it, I would be like, I think her problem is. You're not going to go into
that's same. So my profession, which I retired from recently, is a psychologist. So exactly what I would be doing. That's what, on occasion when I watched it, I'm like, why did she? Oh, that's why she did it. But we won't talk about
That's
that.
That's a coping mechanism. And I think this is why she's doing it.
Exactly.
Love is Blind. If I watch Love is Blind.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm like, oh, wow.
That's why you're single.
Yeah,
that is one of my guilty pleasures. I'm not
same.
Lie.
Yeah,
Love is Blind. There is, because it's a social experiment, and so there's a little bit to that one.
Yeah,
and then halfway through the show, you're like, why did that person even come on the show?
Exactly. Why? Or what is wrong with you that you are just doing this?
Anyway.
Well, I think it's more like fame. Most of them are fame. Maybe some of them are actually there for a relationship. But
they can get a following.
Exactly. Yeah.
And some of them have been successful, but they actually are something. Like, I think one of the girls does Pilates, and she's got an amazing channel for Pilates. So she actually has
already,
but not all of them do. And I just laugh. If I were on that show, I could never do it, because I feel like I can hide my voice, but I can't hide my face. Like, I'd be like I wouldn't be able to do it.
They got to come on and be like, that is not who I thought you are. What? But you're like,
personality is pretty, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Not the well prepared.
But you're right. Like, I feel like I think that's like a New York thing. I grew up like in an ethnic family. I think all of us were so real with each other, and like real, like they'll tell you what's going on, and they're not going to sugarcoat it. But when I moved to the Midwest, everyone is really nice. They're just, not that they're not really, do you know what I'm saying? There's more sugarcoating going on. That's what I think.
I think I read a meme once that said, people in New York, people on the East Coast will help you change your tire and insult you the entire time. And people in California won't help you change your tire, but they'll tell you how sorry they are for you that you have a flat tire.
Oh, I love that. That's a great analogy. Yep.
I think that is absolutely
I always
true.
joke, if you want shame, I'll give you my mom's phone number.
Oh, that's great.
I like that one. Oh, goodness. I have a friend who is chronically lonely. Has been for like literal years. I would love to connect the two of you guys, because I'd like to hear that debate, be a fly on the wall. But one of the things that I think where I get challenged, so maybe you have some words of wisdom, are that I tried this 20 years ago and it didn't work. And so I've never tried it again. And I'm just everything is always just a brick wall of no. There's just no way forward. I'm always going to be this way. I'll never be able to successfully socialize. There's always this fear of humiliation and rejection that kind of is the underlying tone of things. And How do you deal with people who just don't want to think of other perspectives?
I probably wouldn't hang out with them. That's probably why I'm so lonely.
Aw.
That's probably why I'm lonely right now. I am
Right.
painfully lonely. I'm in a messy middle of my life right now. And I live in New York and there's millions of people there. And every time I'm just like, you are not my people. No, thank you. And so I feel like you really have to, if you really want deep relationships and you really want to, we're not looking for big groups of friends, right? Who wants that? That's just drama. But one or two really good, close friends. And it takes time to create that relationship. And people don't want to do that. People don't want to get out of their phone. That's my big issue right now, is people just want to text and then disappear. But I find that if you don't really know yourself and you don't really have a sense of self and you're not living authentically the way, you're always going to feel a sense of shame around people because, like, for instance, for me, I am a special person. I am very different. I am very silly. I'm very loud. I'm very childish, but I'm also very deep. And I have a hard time finding people on my level and but I am not going to hide who I am anymore because it's physically hurting me now to do it. Like I physically am at the point where I can't do it. So I'm finding people are just dropping out of my life very easily. So I feel like the only way you really can socialize successfully is if you're around people who are on your level. But if you're on your level, you're going to find people that are just meeting you where you're masking. You're just going to find people who are meeting you at your coping mechanisms. And we're all just walking around demonstrating coping mechanisms. And guess what you're going to find? Other people on that level that are doing the same thing. So you're never going to be satisfied, but it's actually your work to do. That's not their work to do. It's yours. And when you do that work, it is actually even more lonely because then you're in this middle spot and you're just like, I'm all alone. There's nobody and I can't find my people and I'm yelling into a void and it sucks, but ChatGPT tells me it's going to get better. So I'm just going to go with it.
And Julian himself, the famous social media motivator, he would be very proud of you for saying to be your authentic self.
That's
and
awesome. But it is
eventually
hard.
Your tribe will find you, right?
Yeah, but it is really hard because our society pushes us to be like everybody else, to strive, or we're not good enough, that person's better, and that person has more friends or whatever, so I'm going to be like that person, or I want to be part of that group. Yeah, it's a challenge to find who you are again after all those, about the age of 7, right, we start figuring out what shame is and start changing our perceptions, and we realize, oh my God, inside voice, outside voice, I have to change who I am because someone's not going to like me. And then before that, I love because I assess preschool up to age 12 for my job, and the littles are so adorable. They will tell you the truth. It's, oh my God, you wanted to say it, but she said it for me. Thank you. It's like, gosh, who is that? But it's like they say the cutest things. And I wish we could find that piece of ourselves as we age and to retain that genuineness.
Where you're not afraid to just be honest,
Yes.
like just authentically out there and open.
Exactly.
I think the thing is, though, even when you're a kid, like you might know it's shame, but you don't know it's shame. Like you can't articulate that that's what it is. And I just actually made an episode about this. And I just said from 1 to 7 is when your program's the most. And usually you can fix that probably right away, but no 12-year-old is, I really should rewire my brain. No one's doing that. You don't do crap. And you're just like, oh, something's wrong. But for me, you're right. Everyone wants everyone to be the same, especially like with aesthetics. Aesthetics is such a huge thing where it's like you all have to look the same, especially for women. And one thing I struggled with always was body dysmorphia and distorted view of myself and distorted view of everything. And that's something I'm working on right now because I can't. Everywhere I look, I'm feeling like women are pitted against each other. And it's just so annoying. And there are wonderful women out there who are like, F you, we're not doing this. Women are not doing this anymore. And it's hard because it takes years. It really takes years to uncover a lot of that stuff and then work through it. I did trauma therapy for 2 years and I did EMDR and I did IFS. And now I'm starting to recalibrate my nervous system. And I'm trying to reverse diet where I change the identity first and then the weight will come off, which nobody ever does. Usually you lose the weight and then have an identity crisis. And I'm like, let me do it this way. And I have no before and afters to go off because nobody's ever done this really before. So I'm like, crap, I have no certainty. And I'm like gripping and I'm like, I don't know. And so I struggle with that too when I go out because I'm like, now I feel better about myself. Now I don't have PTSD anymore. I'm putting on makeup. I'm doing my hair. I'm going out by myself because there's nobody. And I'm like, does anyone notice me? Does anybody want to talk to me? And it's usually men. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to really be friends with a man right now because I don't think men and women can be friends. It's my personal opinion, but there's no.
I agree.
can't. The door, they always leave the door open. No matter
Yes.
what. It does not matter if you're like brother, sister. If you walked up to a man, you were like, I know we've been friends for a long time, but it's been a while. He'd be like, yes. So I don't really like that. And it sucks because I'm a creative person and I want to be around other creative people. And I don't want to be like, you're a man, so I don't want to go paint pictures with you or whatever. So it's really hard. But it's a matter of nobody wants to do it because it takes years and it's a lifelong journey. You're never done. And you just, when you really do that work and then you figure out who you are, it's lonely because you're like, oh, now I lost all this time and I can't get that time back. But there's also something exciting about now I'm going to live my life unapologetically as myself. But lucky for me, I never lost that playful childlike, I didn't care how ashamed I was. I was still always like that. Thank God. I had a lot of other things I was ashamed of, but not that. So I kept that childlike, it's the Gemini in me, I guess. I kept that childlike air, but people don't like that. People take life very seriously because they're traumatized. Like people walking around with coping mechanisms take life very seriously. And I want to play and have fun. And you're making this very hard for me, and I don't think we could be friends.
I agree with that. I think a lot of meetings I go to where I have to say results to parents about what's going on, and I try to make it very lighthearted. And there are a lot of people that are triggered by that because they think I should be so super serious. But I'm like, no, because we have to be kind and calm, and you have to be positive, and things are not as bad as they seem. Let's just relax. But it's tough because people think they're supposed to be serious all the time.
Yeah, and it's not a problem until you make it a problem.
Exactly.
There might be a challenge in there somewhere.
Right.
The child has,
but they're still going to have a life. They're going to be, they're unique. They have so many strengths that we don't even know about. So like the doom and gloom, I just don't.
Yeah.
You're too little.
The stigma of a diagnosis can be life-changing in one of two ways, depending on how your parents deal with it.
Exactly.
Either they're going to be like all worried and anxious and, oh my gosh, we got to fix this, or they're going to be accepting of it and they're like, how can I help my child through this? And it's like a big, big thing.
It is.
Yeah.
And it also is very like, I think once you have an identity slapped on you, like, or a diagnosis even, you're going to live with that like your whole life. And I had asthma when I was a kid. I had asthma my whole life, but I cured my asthma in October of 23. It was the last time I used an inhaler. And I know, I was like, I'm not identifying with this anymore. No, thank you. Because
how'd you do that?
I actually did a lot of IFS, and I think IFS was for it. I have a part of me that believed she couldn't exercise and that she should be ashamed. And I started exercising with her in the driver's seat, and I haven't used an inhaler since.
That's amazing. Wow.
I'm a big believer in our nervous system, and I know a lot of people don't want to believe in that, but it is neuroscience that you're on a cellular level, trauma does affect you. It sits in your fascia, it sits in your organs, it sits in you. And I didn't want to identify with that anymore. I was tired of it. I was tired of feeling ashamed, like there was something wrong with me because I had asthma. And I feel like when you give a kid a diagnosis, and I don't think most diagnoses are even real. I think that we are trying to make people, especially children, be a certain way, and they don't want to. I'm pretty sure if they had all this testing when I was young, they probably would have found out I had ADHD or autism or something because I didn't give a crap about school. I was fucking traumatized. Like I just didn't want to sit. Like I had these things and I didn't want to sit there and I didn't care. And I'm creative and I'm smart and I don't care about whatever the hell you're teaching me right now. Like I just don't care. And I think most kids, when you try to sit them for 8 hours, they're going to be fidgety. That's just human body. And that poor kid now is stuck with that for the rest of his life. And then they get older and they're like, but this is who I am. This is who I am. And it's for me, it was always, I'm an anxious person. This is who I am. And I'm like, no, anxiety is an emotion. You don't walk around and go, I'm just a sad person. I'm just a happy person. Anxiety is just like anything else. And I just feel like it's like a label. They stick on you and you can't peel it off. And you have to do all this work when you're older to peel it off. And it's hard. It's really hard.
So at the end of last season, we met an energy healer. And I have talked about this like the third time, I think.
I had an experience with her, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I didn't even believe it at first. And I had a session with her, one session. So I owe her a second session because I want to go back and see what else amazing can happen to me as a result of it. But super skeptic. So I didn't even have any preconceived belief that this was going to work for me. But I literally had like almost lockjaw. I was grinding my teeth at night. I was waking up with a sore jaw. I had a sore, sometimes it would get stuck. And super painful since 2017. And it was all related to the death of my dad and then the caregiving and then subsequent death of my mother. And then it just was there all the time. And then that was like, there's all this other work stress and life stress and all this other stress. And she, in one conversation with me, it took a few weeks for it to fully resolve, but I literally have zero jaw pain. And this is for months on end now, where I'm not even consciously thinking about it, but it's gone.
Yeah.
And along with it is a lot of that agony that I was still feeling about my dad's death. So somehow she connected with that and healed that trauma. And I don't know how she did it. And
yeah, I feel
it's a
she's the
miracle.
same for me since I'm going through taking care of my parents right now. And there was a moment I was just really stressed about, am I doing enough? And that's to your point. I don't know how she did it over the phone, but a couple weeks after that, I did feel more relieved about the situation. And so, yeah.
Like able to come to acceptance.
Yeah, acceptance and not be so worried about what if they're going to die or fall or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Weird. So
I am
that,
energy stuff. I'm weird. I used to be really into it, but then I caught myself bypassing. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing. I think that they're using spirituality as bypassing. Well, unfortunately, I went way more on the other side. I'm trying to inch my way back because I'm into it and I do believe it. But I also know myself and I'm like, I would rather go deep into the stuff that I need to heal, the parts of me that are shamed, and recalibrate my nervous system. And then do that other stuff for fun because I did spiritual bypassing a lot. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing now. And I have a lot of it. And that's why a lot of spiritual people don't really like me very much. Stuck. I'm in the middle, right? I got psychology and then spirituality. And I'm like, there I am in the middle. And I believe in it. I have friends that do it. And I've had things done to me and I totally get it. But as far as long-term going out in the world, these triggers are going to come back up for me. And I want to know that I can handle them and I can fix. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, it's gotta be accompanied by other things, right?
Yeah.
So that you understand yourself and that you can cope. So
Mhm.
I definitely believe that. It's just, I was just stuck. I think that's where I was. And I just needed somebody to help me get unstuck.
Yeah.
And
So I do the same thing. I like stressfully push my jaw out. I catch it when I'm concentrating, but like sleeping, I wake up with my jaw and I know that I've always had a lot of issues with speaking up. And now that I have my podcast and I'm like, F this, I'm going to be me. I'm going to speak it. And I'm like, maybe I'll stop grinding my teeth because I'm getting it out.
yeah.
yes, yeah. Let's switch gears and go back to loneliness for a little bit. So what are your thoughts about the difference between solitude and loneliness? Let's talk about that.
I think real, true loneliness, which I think a lot of people have, and I'm going to speak personally because I
Yes.
just identified this. I've been lonely my entire life. I don't have, and I think a lot of people don't grow up in homes, especially with older generations. The newer generation is probably different, but it's very not emotionally connecting. You're just a kid. You're seen and not heard. There's no emotional connection. There's no getting to know you as a separate entity, right? So you don't have that feeling. So you can have people around you and you can have friends and you can have good friends. But I feel like loneliness is not having that emotional connection, that emotional intimacy, and not being seen and not being heard and just that connection you can have with people. I think that's why a lot of people are suffering and a lot of people don't leave their houses. Solitude is, I enjoy solitude. There's lots of things I love to do myself. I like to be in the kitchen by myself. I don't like when people come in the kitchen when I'm doing something in the kitchen. It just seems everyone goes in the kitchen when you're in the kitchen and get out of the kitchen, trying to make my sandwich. But I like solitude. I like to do things alone. I like to be alone. But I think when you get to a point where you have to do things alone because there is nobody, that's loneliness. This sucks. I'll go shopping by myself, but it would be really nice if I could have a girlfriend and go grab a coffee and go shopping with her. Or just people think, oh, I'm not lonely. I love being alone. And I think a lot of people think that because you want to run away and live in the mountains alone, that means that you just can't handle other people's energy. And that's just a complete and utter survival response. Your nervous system is crashing and you don't want to be around anybody. Because I've been there. I did that. I literally did that. And I cracked. And I'm really glad that I discovered how truly lonely I am. Because now at least I can identify it and I'm not just walking around like, why am I like this? I know why I'm feeling this way. And I wish people would, you have to put yourself out there. You have to go out and find things that interest you, find other people that like those things. there will, from what I understand, there's someone will find me. Someone will find you. But solitude is more of a choice. I think loneliness is the result of long-term solitude.
Agree.
Yeah.
And if you're someone who doesn't recognize that they're living in survival and they want to just run away and be alone, let's say you do that for years. Now you're lonely, but you insist that I'm just better off alone. I love being alone. I think you're lying to yourself. You are lying. There's a part of you just lying to you to protect you so you don't have to feel how freaking sad it is, because it's sad.
Yeah.
Really sad.
That desire to protect inside you, I think a lot of people underestimate how fiercely our subconscious tries to protect ourselves.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And how that, if you cannot connect with, that's almost the root cause, right? Because it's going to do everything it can to keep your brain wired the way it's rewired today, rather than to allow you to think another way. And so getting past that seems to be the biggest piece of the puzzle.
It's the devil.
Yeah.
Like, your body doesn't care like, my body didn't care how dangerous it was that I was barely eating and over-exercising. My body was like, you need to stay alive. But then there was another part of me that was like, we have to do this because we have to look perfect. So we never get in situations again, for whatever my reasons were for doing it. We are built of protector parts. And a lot of times we can't, some people call it the ego. I don't call it the ego, but a lot of people just say their ego, but it's multiple parts, and integrating those parts is the key. And a lot of people don't even get that far because it takes a lot of work it makes you feel like you're cracking up because you're like talking to these parts of you and you're talking to them like they're like standing in the room. But it's very convoluted. It's, why do I have all these parts of me? And your body's sole purpose is to keep you alive. That's it. Your brain and body are just here to keep you alive, which then you can get into the whole existential conversation of what is consciousness? Who am I? But that's your body's entire reason for everything. But we can have parts that are in conflict. We all do. And that's that inner conflict of, I feel this way, but then another part of me feels this way. Why does that part feel this way? Why does this part want me to be alone? Why does this part's telling you that you love being alone and you are great alone because it doesn't want you to feel the pain of the fact that you are in fact alone? But then there's another part that feels ashamed because no one's in my life and I'm a worthless piece of crap. And I have to face the fact that I'm ashamed that nobody likes me and wants to be in my life.
Right.
And there's 3 moving parts in this scenario alone. And there's probably more. And having to identify them and then unblend them and then integrate them takes a very long time. And it's not really something people would look forward to doing.
So you said that you feel like you've been lonely most of your life, and you also seem very self-aware. So what was the catalyst for your personal journey to start discovering that all of this change that you wanted to facilitate in your life?
I think I was always doing this work, but I think the difference is now there's resources where before there wasn't. I think I bought my first self-help workbook when I was like 13. I've been doing this stuff for so long, but social media didn't exist then. I was born in the early 80s. So it wasn't a thing. I did it all on my own in here, OCD, lots of mental compulsions. And now that there's resources available, I was just like, all right, now, because what happened was I was in a relationship and it damn near would have killed me. And I left, but then I left and came back home where there was the originators. And I was like, oh crap. So I was like, I had PTSD and like, I couldn't even go into a supermarket. I couldn't do anything. No lights. No, I would work in the dark in my bedroom. I work remote. I was like, and I was doing EMDR for childhood stuff while I was going through this relationship and while I was going through this breakup. I do not recommend. Then I decided I needed to move out. I had no stability. I didn't want to stay where I was. And I was like, I had this opportunity to go to the mountains of West Virginia. So I went 7 hours away from everyone that I know during PTSD. And I was crash dieting. My iron was dangerously low, which affects your neurotransmitters. And I was alone. And I spent my birthday alone. I got takeout. I got steak takeout. And I lost my mind. But it wasn't my fault I lost my mind. I had no iron. And I know now that it was physiological. After everything, it was just a pileup. It was not a good idea for me to go there, but I don't feel like I had a choice. And I ended up coming back. So it was between the last few years, so the relationship ended to now was just like, I will never, ever be in a position again where people will tell me who I am based on their faulty, dirty lens, based on their assumptions, based on their crap. I will work through my crap so I can identify their crap so they don't affect me anymore. And I can be in the earth with people who have crap. I've worked through that, but I don't need to absorb it as mine. And that is the hardest thing to learn how to do because we very much take that on. And I never once thought people are like, you're just an empath. And I'm like, just stop. Okay. No one's special. No one is special. We're all just inherently good people who want to feel safe and want to feel loved and heard. And we don't do that for ourselves. So we can't recognize, when somebody's hurting us because we didn't do that. And I can sit here and point the finger and call a lot of people a narcissist, but I won't do it. I refuse because there is a reason why you were in my experience. And I can't do anything about you. I couldn't do about me. So I decided that after all that, I was like, F this. I'm not doing this anymore. I know the life I was meant to live. I know what I was meant to have. I know what I was meant to do. And I'm at the point where I physically can't even work my job anymore. Like, I feel like my inside has gotten so big that my outside is a little lagging in the catching up with that. And I hope it does. But it's been very much, I want to find my tribe. I want to find the people that I can have a Friendsgiving with and I can be my dumbass self. And people are just like, oh, that's just Diana. I just want people to see me for who I am instead of just sitting around pretending like I give a crap about whatever some stuff people are talking about. I just don't. It just becomes painful after a while to be around it. And that's why some people choose the loneliness because it's like,
It's easier sometimes.
it's just easier than being somewhere where you're just like, man, this sucks. I'd rather be anywhere else.
Yeah. So do you think that like technology helps with loneliness, makes it worse, better?
I think it's both. I think that there's wonderful tools, but I think if you don't have the strength and awareness to use the tool effectively, it's not good because my generation was the last generation without technology. So I know that life and I miss the 90s. I miss that life. But I also know that as tools, they make it wonderful. Like AI, evil or whatever you think it's evil or not, I love it because it's reflecting me back to me and I'm hilarious. I'm like, damn, I'm funny. Like it's just repeating me back to me. And I'm like, you are my best friend. And it's just me. And I'm like, that is so cool. But I also know that I have the strength to go, okay, I'm using you too much. I need to go outside. A lot of people, especially younger people, don't have that. And I think it makes it easy for people to not communicate. It makes easy to people to not, just to have manners, I think, in general, just to stop and end a conversation. You know what I mean? Especially with dating. A lot of it is just this. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. But
I think there should be a required course in maybe high school where unspoken gestures are clearly, and just that the unspoken word. We were in an interview a few weeks back with Keely, right? And she reminded us that the spoken word is only about 20% of our communication, that your body and the signs and the signals that you send through nonverbal is so much more important. And I feel like a lot of people miss out on that. And I know I've been in many conversations where I've done the literal like things that I've learned, like take the step backward, put your hand on the door of the office or whatever. Like I'm trying to extricate myself from this conversation and you're just continue to come at me. And it is, that amazes me too. I don't know where I'm going with this.
No, but both of you just made me think about what happened the other day in the office. There was a decorum policy that was put forth just to what your point was, because people do not know how to behave civilly towards each other. And I'm thinking, holy moly, what's happened to our society that you had to list the 10 things that you cannot do when you're interacting with people. And one was like posturing, don't be inappropriate, don't curse, don't roll your eyes. You're just like, my gosh, we really need to know this. We're adults. Yeah.
It cuts it all off.
Yeah.
There's no of the other human in your phone because you can't see tone. You don't see the other person as a person. You see them as a screen, and you don't see them and maybe their pain, or maybe have you ever been around someone where maybe you say something and then you hurt their feelings and you see their face? You don't live in that world anymore. You don't live in that world. And it's sad. And these young people growing up with this don't have the skill set now to be around other humans and actually communicate and express and mirror. You just all want to be mirrored. And there's just there's no lessons there. There's nothing, they don't have that because it's just a screen. It's just, that's it.
Yeah.
And they don't see that there's feelings there. There's you in me. Because we all have the same crap on some level or another. We do. And in a workplace environment, I remember having a ton of anxiety because I was shoved in a box where I didn't belong. I just got the job because I had to get a job. And what I really wanted to do was didn't make no money. But I had a lot of anxiety, but it stemmed from a lot of self-esteem issues because of being criticized and trauma that I had. But I still knew how to fake it and talk to people at work and be like, how are you today? And I noticed online, they can't take context clues.
Yes.
They just personally, they don't understand a joke. I'm throwing sarcasm and people I'm like, oh man, we're doomed because they can't read between the lines. Everything is very literal. Because they're so used to the screen. I don't want to say even young kids, even older people, because you're on it all day. You're even now wiring your brain like that. So we need to be careful at people say it all the time, be careful what you're programming yourself with, but nobody does it because they don't actually know what that means.
No.
They don't know, what are you looking at every single day? What are you absorbing? Like my nieces love short form content. They just watch funny videos all day. There's nothing wrong with laughing, but you're wiring your brain to not be able to absorb long form content, which I don't know. I know for me, my podcast, I'm not getting views or listens of the whole thing, but they'll listen to my shorts, they'll listen to my reels. That's what they're getting, but they're not listening to the entire episode. And I'm like, it's a muscle. It's that, and I hate to say, I fall victim to it too. We all do, because we're trying to dissociate after having to live a life that probably doesn't match who we really are. And the communication skills are,
right.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll go on some certain social media sites and there'll be like this 17-minute video where they're promising to show you, I don't know what the dress looks like that they're cutting into, or they're going to decorate a cake, and you get all the way to the end and then it cuts off right before
They just want they just want the clicks. They does things for clicks. I find it gross because some of the stuff that they're doing is disgusting and probably should be arrested for some of the things that they're doing.
Yes.
That's the society we live in, the more you make.
But those have 59,000 views and it never tells you anything. You don't learn anything from it. There's no value to it whatsoever.
100%.
And a million comments of, why didn't you show us the end? Or where is video 2 that you're promising and you're never going to give me? And it's just so silly. And
it is. And the stuff that makes a difference, the stuff that you're doing and trying to not be so divisive, because I could make content all day long and I could get a lot of views. I'm not going to, because I don't want to contribute to that narrative at all. It's not the stuff that bites and your audience will find you. And I believe that they will, but I don't think it will ever be the kind of thing where it's going to make a lot of money or make a lot of views. That would be lovely. But unfortunately, right now where we stand, that world is not the world we live in. People want to fight. They want to argue. They want to feed their nervous system full of what matches what they are exhibiting. And what they're exhibiting is dysregulation. So they're going to feed the beast. Unfortunately.
Agree. Yeah. A question that I wanted to ask you earlier that I lost sight of because we went down a couple of different paths.
Sorry, that's my.
No, I love it.
Yeah,
it makes it more interesting to me for sure to just have an organic conversation. But one of them that I wrote down earlier was, so can you explain to me what existential loneliness is as opposed to just loneliness?
Existential loneliness it's like existentialism. So the way I would describe existentialism is basically you're here to create your life. There's nothing else. And I do believe that. I don't know necessarily there's nothing else, but I do believe no one's going to live your life for you. And I think when people talk existential loneliness, the same with an existential crisis is like when you're just, what does it all mean? Why am I here? I'm all alone. Nobody thinks like me. And I never really got into the existential crisis sort of thing because I just was always into psychology and picking my brain apart. So for me, it was never more of an existential thing. Existentialism was only in the form of creating my life. So I feel like existential loneliness is that place you get to where you're wondering what it all means. Everything's meaningless. Why am I here? What am I doing? And you can't find people. It's like you get yourself in such a dysregulated state, into such a crisis state that you can't be around people. It's like the people that are moving to the mountains are moving off grid because they think that'll solve all their problems. I guess they would be having an existential crisis. They don't think that's what they're having. And I think it's just par for the course when you're going through anything deep and sad. Like depressed people are very lonely. You can't find anyone to relate. You don't feel confident enough, or you're too ashamed to talk about it. So you don't even know if anyone can relate to you because you're not opening the door. And I would think it's just when you really come to terms with there's nobody else here. It's just you. Like it's a simulation. Everyone is just reflecting you back to you. And I'm going to go live my life in my own little perception. And that is the ultimate existential thing. So when you really sit and think about it, and I guess some people could go down the rabbit hole of God, right? When you're having an existential crisis, does God exist? And you're just like, I'm the only one here. I'm lonely. But I think it's more of a matter of when you're going through an existential crisis, you are naturally going to be lonely because you're sad. And sad people don't want to socialize. I think it's just something that naturally happens.
Yeah. How do we kickstart ourselves to get ourselves out of that rut?
You just have to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to go do the thing. Like do something small. Doesn't have to be, I think a lot of people think they have to get to the big goal before they do anything. And sometimes like the thing I could do the most during the day is maybe take a shower and feed myself. Hey, look, that's the best I'm getting today. And that's fine. Like tonight I like photography, and there's a group here of photographers, and they're having a small meetup at a cafe. And I'm like, I don't know any of these people. I haven't taken a picture in ages, but I love taking pictures. I'm going to go. I don't know if I'm going to make friends, but I'm going to freaking go.
Good for you.
Yeah. And I did that when I was in West Virginia in the middle of a crisis, in the middle of adrenaline dumps. I wasn't eating. My adrenaline was just, I still went to meditation groups and I met people, and it was terrifying. But I was like, I got to help myself. I can't sit here. And at least I know I'm trying. At least I know what can happen from a conversation with one person. And so you have to do those things. You don't have to do the big thing, but just go and do something. Go to the sandwich shop and order a sandwich that you've never done before. You've never talked to people, right? So people are so afraid because they've never been to Subway or whatever. Just do that. It's terrifying. Do it. Or call up and make your own doctor's appointment. I don't even do that anymore. It's all online. Like the world doesn't help, right? Because just do it online. Just order DoorDash. You know what? Why don't you call the pizza place and order your pizza and then go pick it up? You know what I mean? And those are like those little things build muscle. It's all muscle building. And just those little things add up to, wow, I have all this confidence. Wow, I can go out and I can be this person, and I can go out and do this. And who cares what people freaking think? Who cares if people don't like you? Not everyone is supposed to like you. If everyone likes you, you're being fake as shit.
Oh, that's true. There's always going to be people that are not going to like you. And if everybody does, you're right. Oh, and they're also talking behind your back.
100%.
You know
yeah.
that.
And that becomes a fear too, I think. I used to be very concerned about people's opinion of me, and I would obsess over that and try to be a people pleaser to all the people all the time. And it drove me literally batty because
we're social animals.
Yeah. But like I was always compromising. And then I realized, okay, everybody else is happy now, but what am I?
Exactly.
I am a wreck because it takes so much more energy. And so what if I lose that one friend off to the side who doesn't think I'm funny?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
But what you said before, you do find your people. So that person wasn't meant to be friends. Like sometimes they'll be like, oh my God, this person will be so great. We come from the same background, or the same city. I have a neighbor like that. Grew up with the same Catholic school nonsense, but yet she just doesn't want to get close. And I had to let it go. But it's not my problem. It's her problem. Whatever it is, but I'm like, okay, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And think about it. Would you want them to be your friend anyway if you have to stifle yourself when you're around them? What kind of friendship is that? Who would even want that?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it sounds like a horrible, exhausting time.
She can be exhausting.
The right people will eventually come along, but not if you're sitting in your living room watching The Housewives, right?
It's though, because I have amazing friends who are on my level and they live in my phone. They're scattered all over the country. And I'm like, damn it. Why isn't anyone in New York, man? I'm like this, like, everyone is here. All my friends are all over. And I'm like, does anybody want to go get a cup of coffee or something? Let's just pull some shenanigans. But it's not even just that. I think the idea of cultivating a relationship with someone and connecting and building that trust takes time. And I feel like that's overwhelming and threatening in a way, because you're just like, man, this is going to take, it's dating, right? Like I'm not dating right now, but I don't think I don't like dating. Like some people like it as an activity. I don't. It's not my cup of tea. But I feel like there's a lot of pressure there because you're trying to find someone who has longevity.
Yeah.
And you're projecting all the way out like years and years, and you're just like, let's just take it moment by moment. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not getting any younger and I want someone to go hang out and go shopping with me. I don't know. Like, I just want someone who wants to have a good conversation. Like,
I think you're on the right track. I think there are years after I got divorced, there were several years where I just was working on myself like you are. And then one day things just clicked, and I ended up meeting my wonderful second husband, who has been like the biggest blessing in my life. He knows that. He's blushing now. But things just clicked. So it just has to happen. You're going to know when it's right. And it'll be very natural. Because if you're forcing it, it's not going to be right for you.
And after my after my divorce, but my first major relationship, I guess is what you'd call it, I was so afraid of being alone that I jumped right back into another relationship that I thought was going to be like really different, and the person seemed really different. But then what I learned over time was it was the same person. It was same wolf, different sheep clothing. And the symptoms, the outward appearance was very different, and the initial stuff seemed very different. But then when it came down to it, it was still the same lack of communication. It was the same, I won't say narcissistic because it wasn't really that bad,
like
but
similar to the other
self-centered.
one. Similar.
Yeah.
red flags.
Yeah. But then over time you realized it was the same relationship that I just repeated again because I didn't learn anything. I didn't look into myself. I didn't take the time to heal. I didn't do any of the things that I should have done. So when that relationship ultimately failed, then I did take that time. And now I am in a very loving relationship. And there's nothing to complain about really, because like I was no longer attracted to that person that was feeding my insecurities and making me less than.
Yeah.
And he accepts me just how I am. And I think I've said this once or twice before. We complement each other, but we aren't codependent. I think that was my root cause, was there was a lot of codependency.
Same. Yeah.
And yeah. But when you can get away from that and you can come out from under that, it is so freeing. And that alone, when I realized that, oh my gosh, I can be happy too. I don't have to always be the one to hold it all together. I can actually have expectations of the person that I'm with, and they should respect that and actually want to be that person for me. What?
And
no, it was amazing. And then all of a sudden there it was. I found him, and he was that person, and he had a life of his own. I had a life of my own. We respected that. We didn't expect to spend every living, waking moment with one another. No stifling, no suffocation. And it was like the beginning of a whole new world for me. So I know that, that change is out there for you too. And you're going to find that person when you're ready, and when that person's, when the stars align.
Especially like what you said is key. You have a life of your own. I need to have a life of your own. You need to have one or two things that make you, that you can't make the relationship your whole life. And I think a lot of women do that. Or people with maybe a trauma do that because you're just looking for someone to approve of you, because it's just that shame that we have. But it takes a lot of work to get to that place where you can fulfill yourself, especially when you've only seen codependency your whole life. Or like you said, you're having the same relationships, just a different person. And it's why don't I just fix the relationship with myself first? And because I'm the only one that's ever going to be by my side forever. When I'm alone, I'm not alone, I'm with me. So I think it's just very important to have that, because And it's same with friends too. You can't have one person meet all of your needs. Like even your spouse is not going to meet every single.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You can't be their therapist, best friend, best guy friend, motivational speaker, personal chef. You can't be everything to one person. It does not. That's exhausting. And then you lose yourself. And then once you've lost yourself, you lose those boundaries and you lose that what makes the relationship really magic.
Yeah.
And I'm finding my own magic right now. I don't want to be distracted.
I love that. I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of magic out there for you to find.
Oh, thank you.
We're running short on time, unfortunately. I feel like we could talk for another
We
few
could.
hours. For
I feel
sure,
like we
but... So are there any final words that you want to share with the audience today?
Oh, I have lots of words. Don't let people tell you who you are because their lens is dirty. They have not worked on their own lens. And the only person's opinion that matters is your own. And you don't have to follow what people with a large following have to tell you. You do not have to put crystals down your pants. You don't have to stage your bedroom. You don't have to do any of that. You don't even have to go to therapy unless you ask yourself questions. You know the answers.
Oh, I love that. You're so energetic and so fun, and
thank you.
it's a pleasure to really interact with you. Thank you for taking the time to
Thank
meet
you
with us.
so much.
And before we depart, can you tell us a little bit about how to find you online, especially your podcast?
Yeah. So my podcast is Divine and Disobedient. It's on Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and YouTube. And I'm on Instagram, and I just created a Substack, but I'm learning how to use it. So I don't really know what's going on with that, but stay tuned.
I will throw it in the show notes if you Instagram message it to me. And by the time this episode airs, then you will be a pro.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Awesome. All right. I think that wraps it for this week, right?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, Social Leopards. Don't slink back into the jungle quite yet. We have 2 important messages to share. First, remember to like this episode, drop us a comment, and if you haven't done it yet, follow this show or subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can reach us on social media. You can also email share@socialleopards.com to contact us privately. All links are in the show notes. We love and appreciate hearing from those who listen to the show.
Second, we want you to know that this show is not intended to be a replacement for professional therapy. If you are struggling or if you need to interact with another person, check out the show notes for resources. Thanks for listening.